Good evening. Let's chat a little bit about people who are natural empaths and have an innate bent towards psychic skill sets and some of the challenges that can arise in life if you are this type of person. So, if you do have these types of skills innately, there's typically a high degree of sensitivity, very, very high. And we might not recognize it for what it is in the beginning, or maybe ever. But often there's this type of, how can we put it, like fidgetiness. And this is how we're trying to balance the environment around us. If you are of this type, then you will be feeling the emotions of others, feeling the mind states of others, and depending on your particular relation to that you develop over the course of your life, you will then be trying to work with it or balance it in some way that you may or may not be conscious of. So one way that people do this is by trying to make others comfortable all the time. And this is an expression of our own discomfort when we are in that state. So we feel somebody else's attention, and then we start making these shifts and changes to ourselves and to our own energetic space. Again, this is usually subconscious as a means of balancing that energetic shift on the other side. So someone who is of this type will typically find a lot of comfort in people who are, we could say, fairly static in terms of their own centeredness. But this doesn't necessarily mean truly centered, just relatively stable, because that stability will give the psychic person who doesn't know they're psychic, it'll be a relief for them to relate to the person who is static, right? The stable person. It's a relief. Now, when you get two natural empaths and they're both feeling this stuff, right, in the background all the time, and maybe don't really know what's there, well, then they have something they got to work with, and it's pretty entertaining. Now, we don't want to rely on the stability of others for our own comfort, so it's very important in these cases that we develop equanimity. That's absolutely critical. And we can then look at the positive of this and use this to develop spiritually in a pretty streamlined way. Now, other challenges that might arise is, I guess, what do people call it? Gaslighting, where you are essentially reading a person. You know that maybe they're not being truthful or whatever. You don't know how you know. And then you bring that up. And because there's no evidence, any obvious evidence, circumstantially or otherwise, well, then you get told you're a nutbag. And this is something that's quite interesting. Now, this doesn't mean that everything that you perceive is, necessarily true in terms of how those definitions are coming to you, right? So just because we think it is one thing, we don't want to attach to the outcome, we could say, of these empathic skills, right, or tendencies. And so in conjunction with equanimity, I'm balancing on a bunch of rocks here, so forgive me for not speaking so clearly. When we are working in conjunction with equanimity, we need to have something that I was thinking of, which I forgot. What was it? Discernment. Okay, so we need discernment and equanimity. They both work together, right? We need to be able to experience the subtleties of these empathic tendencies without being swept up in them, right? And we need to be able to discern if the information coming into us is true or not. And it doesn't have to be determined immediately. You can put this stuff on the back burner and go, okay, well, let's see. I got this feeling. Does it prove itself out? I noticed this. I noticed that. Does it prove itself out? So if you are of this type of character, an equanimity training skill set or training program is really useful. Discernment, very, very useful. Okay, and then also just straight up acknowledgement that you aren't nuts, and what you're feeling is often, there's truth to it. There are things that are happening subtly in the environment that we are responding to. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for your time. If you're interested in training, you can find me on the website www.taichiinstitute.ca. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.